So when I think about the brotherhood in the church, I think about Jesus. Jesus being God in the flesh had 12 disciples. Like a man with so much power, man and God, with so much power and surrounding himself with 12. Welcome, world, again to another episode of the Call by God podcast. I'm your host, and I'm here with Daryl Smith again. Daryl Smith, how you doing, man?
Doing wonderful, Doc. Doing wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So again, we're continuing this series on this fatherhood series, and I'm enjoying it. It's therapeutic for me. It's just been a blessing for me, and we're just going to dive right into it. So we're going to be talking today about brotherhood and accountability. And the reason why I came up with this topic, simply because I know that there are most men. We like to be isolated. Sometimes when we go through stuff, we like to be in our man. We call that man cave. And sometimes we shy away, we run away from brotherhood and even accountability. And I just wanted to talk about that. And I'm sure it might probably be you. You might probably be in your man cave right now all by yourself, you're lonesome. But it does not have to be that way. It don't have to be this way. You know, I'm sure that there's somebody in your life that I feel that you could go to and talk to about what you're going through, and y'all could be a source of encouragement to one another. So let's talk about that today. So when you think about brotherhood and accountability, what comes to your mind? I'm gonna tell you what comes to me before you go. So I know you and I, we watched the movie called The Forge, the power of a man instilling some affirmation and encouragement in another young man. But there was somewhere in the movie that they formed a circle, and you just see men with their sons. And I'm like, man, that's how brotherhood's supposed to look like, right? Iron sharpens iron. That if somebody is falling, you got another one to pick another one up. Like, so that came to my mind. So when you think about brotherhood, what comes to Daryl?
Oh my goodness. So much potential. Like I always see like tremendous potential if brothers, men would stand up, right?
Yeah.
Would be a force to reckon with. The devil, the demons, they know that.
Wow.
Think about it. If you just look at men in our present day, you know, and in our you know, just look at them from, I'm trying to find the words because I can see the tremendous amount of good that would come from brothers standing together and helping each other, right? So I'm trying to come at it from a different angle, from that spiritual war. You know, I'm always on that kick. There's a reason why men are under attack. That's strength. That's power. You take that, and you've got it.
Wow.
I'm serious. You take that away. You strip power, and what is there left for you to even defend with? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, brotherhood and accountability. We're so connected to power that we don't like weakness, and I can speak for myself. I don't like weakness.
Yeah.
Still learning. The challenge with that is, you know, God even says in his scripture, you know, my strength is made perfect through weakness, right? If there was a movement, I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong here. The what was it, the Million Man March?
Yeah.
Years ago.
Yeah.
That I think the Muslims, Farrakhan kind of headed that thing. Oh my goodness, man, that was such a powerful display, right? of men gathering in one place, right? It affected the nation and it affected the world for them to see that many men coming together, one purpose and one goal, right?
Yeah.
And imagine if we had in our neighborhoods, right? At least, let's say, at least 15, 20 men in each neighborhood that would stand up,
Yeah.
right? Help these young men become men, right? Keep the neighborhoods safe, right?
Yeah.
Help the neighborhoods thrive. Make sure that these neighborhoods have the essentials. Make sure that we got grocery stores in all our neighborhoods. Make sure that we have schools in our neighborhoods. Make sure that we have hospitals in our neighborhood, right? So you take care of the health, you take care of the education, you take care of eating, right? Things that provide nourishment.
Right.
Make sure that the church, right? Make sure that the church is there in the neighborhood, and you keep the spiritual man together. That's all you need. That's all that the neighborhoods need.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? But I like the way you say that, brotherhood and accountability, because we as men, we go through things. And, I'm trying my best to, I don't know, maybe I just need to stay into the whole spiritual warfare thing. I'll be trying to step
Yeah.
away from it. But we as men, we hurt, we fail, right? And it's such an issue for us because we know and we feel it's innate in us for us to be the provider, the protector, right? The one that, people can count on.
Yeah.
And when you are unable to fulfill those roles, you feel it, right? You don't necessarily feel like a man at that point, right? And I think, y'all have heard me say this before. I always refer back to that Chris Rock saying where he was like, women, children, and pets, no matter what, are loved. They can mess up, they can fail, they can do this, but they still loved.
Yeah.
That man, if he messes up in one of those areas, you can't provide, you can't protect, he's not even considered a man.
Yeah.
And everybody has that view, right? Society views you like that. But you yourself as a man, you view yourself like that. And so that right there shows you the need for brotherhood, for accountability. It's difficult for us because we don't get together.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want you to know or think that I'm weak.
That's fact. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get what I'm
Where
saying?
did we get that from, though? About what you just said about
That's what I'm
being
saying.
weak? Yeah.
It's innate. It's
It's
innate
innate
within.
in us. Yeah, because we're built to be.
It's innate within
Yeah.
us, right? Like, even the most, how do I say this? Back in the day, we used to call them like the really scrawny kid that wasn't manly and masculine enough. We call him like a nerd or something like
Yeah.
that back
Yeah.
in the day, right?
Yeah.
Even him, if you push him in a corner and you keep pushing him in a corner, right? After a while, that manness is going
Yeah.
stand up in him at some point, and he's going to do something, right?
Yeah.
Manly, it's in us
It's in us. Yeah.
to be a man, right? You get what I'm saying? So
Right.
I don't want you to think that I'm weak. I don't want you to think that I missed the mark or that I can't do. And so then we become isolated. And that's a strategy. That's a strategic approach from the enemy, because once you're isolated, enemy can do whatever he wants with you, as opposed to being with my brother. as opposed
Wow.
to, watch this, being with my brothers. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you got a problem with me, Nick,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? You like, I can't stand Smith. Man, I want to take him out. If I'm with 4 or 5 of my brothers, you ain't trying to do that.
Yeah.
But if I get alone by myself,
Yeah.
man, I take him now. You know? Well, what do you think the enemy is doing? Right? And so, yeah. We as men, that's a good question, man.
That.
How do we,
Mhm.
I guess, first of all, identify that within us, that, hey, listen, you need to let go of this feeling that
Mhm.
I got to be strong all the time,
Yeah.
right? Because if I'm, and I mean, that's the reality of it, man. We do get weak,
Amen. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We do get weak,
Hmm.
but we learned this from our fathers. They learned it from their fathers. Don't you cry, man up. You better handle that. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
then don't let a woman say it, because if a
Yeah.
woman telling you weak, you know, well, okay, I may be feeling weak, but I ain't gonna let her talk to me like that. So I gotta show that I ain't weak
Yeah.
when you are weak. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so then isolation becomes the thing of choice at that point. And
Yeah.
when you're isolated, the devil's got free reign.
Yeah. You got free range. So for me, so when I think about brotherhood, I'm gonna start with brotherhood before I talk about accountability. Because first of all, we don't like accountability. We just like to do things on our own. We figure it out. But anyways, let me start with brotherhood. So I'm gonna get. I like to give two different perspectives. I like to give it for one before I became saved, and while I'm saved. So just so whoever's watching us, I'm not giving it only from a Christian
Sure.
worldview. So my mother had 8 children. So growing up with that large family, because back in the day, that's what they did. They had children, lots of them. You know what I mean? And then so growing up with 6 boys, including myself, so 5 boys, including myself, we became like a brotherhood. Like, so when I think about brotherhood, I think about a unity of, at the time, it was just young men. And then we loved each other. We're blood brothers, but the love we showed to each other was like, it was beautiful. And kind of like what you pointed out, like if you with a lot of brothers and I got a problem with you, I ain't gonna approach you because you look at it like, man, this dude like got 4 or 5 other
I
brothers.
got like 6 of them I got to deal with.
So that's kind of like how it was for us. So when I was coming up, it was like, nah, we don't want to mess with that family right there. They like clicked up. And it was not only us. It wasn't only the brothers, but it also was the cousins. So it was like this brotherhood that we grew up with. And then so as we age, everybody began to change. And I'm going somewhere with this because now we got whole little men, little young boys growing up without a daddy that's not there giving them structure. So we're all like little boys trying to figure it out on our own.
Right.
Somebody got a problem with you, well, they got a problem with all of us. That was kind of like the mindset growing up. And as we grew up, everybody started going their own way. Then that brotherhood started to slowly separate because everybody into their own thing now. Now it's like, you got a problem, hey, that's your problem. Ain't my problem. And it came to the point as we began to age, it wasn't like, are you okay anymore? Back when we were young, man, you good? Bro, you good? Now you ain't even checking on me daily. Like, are you okay? Or good morning, good evening, or good night. Right? They got this trend going on right now where they calling dudes ages. Hey, I'm just calling to say good night. It ain't that no more. I mean, the men calling dudes to say good night.
Yeah.
So now I found myself, and I'm sharing my story. I found myself before I became a Christian where I wasn't even hanging around my brothers anymore. Now you in high school, you got friends now. So now those high school friends, you playing, I play basketball. So now those friends you heard, now they became like your own brotherhood. But they were brotherhood, but with no accountability. There's a separation between the brotherhood and accountability, and that's why before I get to the church part. So in the world, I had this brotherhood with no accountability. But he's like from a secular, a worldly standpoint.
Right.
They're telling you things opposition to God's will and will. Now you may have some dude that say, hey, you need to go to school, you need to do this. You know, there were some decent dudes within the brotherhood, because there's always that one. You know what I mean? That always that one, we always call that one that's he's a hater. Man, you hate, man. You want me to get all these women, man. You hate because you can't get any women. You know what I mean? So you always had that one sharing that with you. So when you think about a brotherhood, you think about community of young men or brothers or upcoming young men or men that could come together and encourage and instill and give that man, that individual man or group of brothers some encouragement. Because like we get weighted down. So when I was in the world before I got saved, we went out, partied with my friends, this and that. Yeah, it was a brotherhood, but still no accountability. But at the same time, we infused that encouragement in us. But there were times that the brotherhood went their separate way. It's like once the circle, like everybody started getting into different things, it just collapsed, right? And then fast forward to the church. So when I think about the brotherhood in the church, I think about Jesus. Jesus being God in the flesh had 12 disciples. Like a man with so much power, man and God, with so much power in surrounding himself with 12. So when I think about Jesus Christ, I say, well, Jesus Christ had his little brotherhood. He has a little circle. So when I got in the church, that's why I thank God for the church, Daryl. I have to say this. You know, I don't want to get all emotional because the church really, I want people that's watching this, I want them to understand the impact of a Christian fellowship church or brotherhood. People that love the Lord. Because you think about all your life, you've been told the wrong things. To do this, do that, do this, have more than one woman, do this. You're always being taught the wrong thing. Now when you get in the church, it's like the opposite. Like, wait a minute, like I'm not used to this, you know what I mean? Right. So that's why I thank God for the brotherhood. And so when I got into the church, the brotherhood was different to me and I loved it. It was like texting, you know, even if it wasn't like a verbal conversation, you know, because, you know, men, we don't talk as much as women. And there are studies that women do talk. I mean, I'm not throwing shade on women, but there are studies that women talk more than men.
Yeah, men don't. We have an issue expressing ourselves.
Yeah. So
women tend to do better with expression.
Right. So when it came with the church, the brotherhood, they wrapped their arms around me and was like, hey, we got you. And then it was like text messages, phone calls here and there, fellowships, prayer, Bible studies. And I enjoyed it because I like, wow, because like, the times that I was low, I get the encouragement. Not from one brother. I'm getting it from all different angles. Like, man, this brother, like, we encourage. And it was going both ways. Like, I'm filled and you weak, I got you. Yeah. You feel. And I really, really, really enjoyed it. In addition to that, now what I didn't get in the world, I was getting in the church. That accountability. When you're wrong, you're wrong. But you need a real brother to tell you that you're wrong, and you got to receive it. Because what most men do, when they're wrong, they don't like to receive it from a brother. Right. Well, it has to be a certain type of brother. Because if the brother is living in error, say, i.e., a brother's cheating on his wife, you telling me not to cheat, dude, like, come on, man, like, really? Don't be no hypocrite, dude. Like, you doing the same thing, you know what I mean? It got to be a brother that really, really love the Lord and genuinely have a love for your soul to tell you what's right. Hey, man, I just want to let you know that I love you, but I got to tell you this. You know, the Bible says that open rebuke is better than secret love. I got to tell the reason why I'm telling you this is because I love you. And that's what I call like a real brother. That you love me so much, are you going to tell? And pray for me. Pray for me. So, but I believe spiritual to some extent because of we have to work 9 to 5s and the society. some subtle way, the enemy has slowly is breaking that brotherhood up, even in the church. Because now it's not like brothers intentionally say that I don't want to talk to you, I can't talk to you. It's because now brothers got to worry about, okay, I got my wife, I got my children, I got this and that. And then you find yourself drifting and you find yourself, man, I ain't talked to this brother like so long. Like, and then you call the brother, like, man, what you been up to? Yeah, life is lifing, man. Life be lifing.
Yep, that's the
So
saying
that's
now.
the thing, man. So
Life be lifing.
so that's kind of like what comes to my mind when I think about brotherhood and accountability.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's where I was trying to go. Because I like the way you did it. You secular than church, right? But I think there's an element there that you could see in both if you separate it like that. I was just trying to encompass all of it
Yeah, yeah,
in general, brotherhood, right? And I think, when you went the secular route, it made me think about, how I came up as a young kid. So I was growing up, West Hollywood, Carver Ranches. And so I came up in the 80s and the 90s, right? And I can remember days going outside in the 80s where our neighborhood started to change because, you start getting the drug, cocaine, crack epidemic at that point in time, right? But we still had enough of, I want to say, brotherhood and accountability even then in the neighborhood. Do you get what I'm saying?
yeah.
The old adage that we always be talking about, it takes a village to raise,
Yeah,
right? We kind of had that back then. And I attribute that, I look at that as brotherhood and accountability. You get what I'm saying? Like, I remember being able to go outside with the neighborhood kids, friends, cousins and whatnot, right? Brothers, cousin, all that family. And I remember even though we called them D boys back then, the dope boys,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even them back then, they were older than us, but they were still a part of the village mentality, the brotherhood and accountability. And I'm gonna give you an example of what I mean by that. We would go outside. They would play ball with us. They would play basketball with us. They would play football with us, right? And they did their thing. We knew what they were doing, right? They pull out a lot of money because this is back in the time when ice cream trucks would be coming up and down the street,
Right.
and then D boy be like, hey, little man, hey, you want a little drink, soda pop or whatever, ice cream, whatever. And we were running, we like, yeah, all right, here you go. They pull out this big wad of money, right? They give it to us. Go and get you something, man, and then get me this too. They wanted us to get them stuff, and they bring my change back. Okay, cool, we did that. To us, that was still brotherhood accountability because they were looking out for us, right? So they would pay for our stuff, right? They would play ball with us, right? And even if it got a little too hot, like they got a transaction that's about to go down at the park and it was getting a little too hot, they'll tell us, don't go to the park today. Y'all stay home. Don't go to the park today. It's going to get a little rough. Okay, so we didn't go to the park. We would stay home, right? Even during the conversations we would have with them, I remember them telling us, hey, don't do what we're doing. They would tell us this. We were the little fellas.
Right.
And they were older, right? They said, don't you do this. They'd be like, we have to do this because that little check grandma getting, that ain't enough to make ends meet. Wow. And they would be like, y'all go to school. Y'all get your education. Don't do what we're doing. We have to do this. This is their speech to us, their mentality.
Right.
To me, I see, I saw the brotherhood and the accountability even in that. You get what I'm saying? And then eventually, you stay with that life. Eventually, they got, locked up or dead. They're in the grave. You get what I'm saying? And so we kind of lost that, right? And I think what you were getting at, and I'm trying to tie it all together because even when you went to the church, right? And you now experience, the brotherhood, the accountability. Hey, brother Nick, I'm gonna shoot you a text. God bless you. How you feeling? Shoot you a verse, this, that, and other, and you feeling that. But even now, it's kind of pulling away, with brotherhood in the church, kind of getting separated, right? I see something consistent in both of those, secular and spiritual or church.
Yeah.
And going back to that spiritual warfare,
Yeah.
systems,
Yeah.
right? Systems
Yeah.
that pull you away and apart, right? Like growing up in the 80s, we all had that village mentality, right? Even them D boys respected the parents in the neighborhood. We're not gonna do that in front of Miss May house. We're not gonna do that. If they had that car with the booming system, they'd turn it down, coming down.
That's true. Yeah, I
right?
remember
They
that.
respected the church house and all that type stuff, right? We were still a close knit family, right? But then systems started pulling us away and apart, right? They eventually got caught up doing you stay in that lifestyle, it's gonna catch up with you, right? But then your mamas and your daddies started separating and all of this stuff started happening and you lose that village mentality, right? The brotherhood, once again, isolation, that stuff starts happening. Same thing in the church now, right? And I know we're focusing on men,
Yeah. Fathers. Yeah.
brotherhood,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Well, listen,